Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Heather Lou here of Closet Core Patterns, coming to show you our beautiful February 2025 pattern for our pattern membership crew this month. It's called the Emmeline Blouse. Now, what we're doing this year with crew is a concept called decades. And every month we're gonna be exploring a different decade and then choosing a garment that we think kind of symbolizes or represents kind of a pivotal fashion moment in that decade, and then designing that garment, but then obviously doing it in a way that it's something that feels beautiful to wear today, that you're going to look great walking down the street in. We're not doing costume, we're not doing cosplay. We're just kind of looking back at fashion history and finding inspiration there and finding how we can kind of take some of those iconic looks and make them work in our wardrobes today. So Emmeline Blouse, this month, we are looking at the 1900s, which is the Edwardian era, so between 1900 and 1910. Not like a traditionally very sexy era when we're looking at fashion history, like people aren't getting super excited so much about Edwardian fashion, but it's kind of an interesting period of time because it is marking the kind of end of the Victorian era, which was very structured and kind of intense and a lot of rules. And it's right before World War I starts. So it's this kind of interwar period. And you do see in fashion history, like silhouettes start to soften a little bit. Corsets are still being worn, but there's this kind of very famous S-shaped silhouette that everybody's chasing. And of course, like the emblem of this era is the Gibson girl with the big, beautiful blouse. And I love blouses from this era so much. I think that they are so timeless. It's one of those things that I was always looking for in vintage stores before I started sewing. And we were really excited to approach this blouse with our kind of point of view and making it again something that you would want to wear today. So what makes Emmeline special? First of all, it's got a really simple band collar and quite like an open neckline. It's not super cut high on the neck. And then in the front, we have a really simple placket that meets right at center front, and inserted in that placket are these really beautiful little delicate rouleau loops. So this is not a blouse that is going to close with buttonholes. These are kind of maybe more era appropriate, these really delicate rouleau loops that are very fun to sew. We've got all sorts of techniques to show you how to do that. There's no darts or anything. The blouse is quite loosely fitted of the era, right? They're not fitted tailor garments. This is a very loose, flowy blouse. And there isn't a ton of shaping in the front. But in the back, we have this really beautifully shaped yoke. And then we have some gathering in the back that adds some volume. Now, if you look, I don't know if you can see on the side, but it's just a very slight high-low hem. It's a little bit higher in the front. It's a little bit looser in the back. And the hem is finished with a really, really delicate, small, tiny hem. Overall, I think, in a lot of ways, this is kind of emblematic of Edwardian blouses of the time, especially when we're looking at this big, voluminous bishop sleeve with this puffed shoulder. And of course, whenever I think about a puffed dress, I'm thinking of Anne of Green Gables, who incidentally was taking place in this era. But one of the kind of innovations we made with the drafting of this pattern that I think is so beautiful, and this is Celine, our pattern maker, who's a brilliant designer, is rather than finishing this with a traditional cuff, either like a narrow band cuff or a wider cuff, the shaping of this sleeve is controlled by these release pleats inside the cuff. So this is actually all one piece. There's no separate cuff. And then like you could see here, so we have this giant bishop sleeve, and then it's narrowed and kind of formed into this beautiful clean finish with all these release pleats. And I love this because you can push it up and it's just the right size to kind of catch on your forearms. And then I think it gives this really beautiful silhouette. And then on the inside, it's finished with a hidden facing. So this was kind of our modern interpretation of this sleeve, a way to make this design feel a little bit more contemporary. Now, what I love about this blouse is it is a canvas. And what Edwardian blouses are really known for is a lot of decoration and a lot of embellishment. And generally that's either done with pin tucks or with lace insertion. So those are two kind of techniques we're going to be exploring in crew this month. We're going to be doing a full pin tuck video tutorial, and I'm really excited to share everything I know about lace insertion. which I've done in the past in other blouses. And this is just a great canvas for that. It's also a great canvas for those kind of special eyelets and embroidered cottons, which is, you can see here, this is 100% cotton eyelet with all this embroidery. And it just feels so special and like this heritage garment just based on that fabric. We haven't done any pin tucks, we haven't done any lace insertion. It's really just working with that beautiful fabric. But then you can see here on this sample on my right, this is just a classic cotton fabric. We haven't done any lace insertion, we've just done the pin tucks. And I just think it has so much texture and drama. So even with a simple fabric and a solid color, you can really have fun with creativity. And in the instructions for Emmeline, we share all sorts of tips and kind of different ways that you can approach pin tucks in terms of how wide, etc. But this is such a fun pattern to sew. Whether or not you just sew it kind of straight out of the package with a beautiful fabric, or whether or not you want to embellish it with some of these details, it's a really beautiful heritage sewing project that I think looks awesome today. Like, I'm just wearing this tucked into a pair of jeans. I feel so chic. It's kind of one of those garments we can pull it back from 120 years ago and it still looks great today. And that's the type of fashion that makes me excited, right? It's not so of the moment. It's, you know, kind of connecting us to our history. So of course, there's a wide variety of fabrics that we recommend for this pattern. I really suggest wovens that have a little bit of a crisp hand, not so much drapey fabrics, although I think this pattern could work in something drapey, but really to get the kind of volume that we want from that sleeve, we're looking at cotton. So poplin, even a quilting cotton would work. Batiste, voile are all lovely options. A lawn would be spectacular. And then linens would also be beautiful. And then any kind of embroidered or lace fabric, I think, would be a beautiful choice for this, as long as it has some crispness and it's going to kind of hold the structure of that sleeve. So if you would like to make Emmeline for yourself, you can join us in Crew, which is our monthly sewing pattern membership. There's no minimum amount of time that you need to join. You can come in for the month and leave if you want for $14 US. But our unlimited plan is really such a great deal because, of course, you're going to get every pattern that we're going to produce this year as part of our Decades collection. And we have so many beautiful designs coming your way. But you also get access to the Stone collection, which was the capsule wardrobe that we designed in 2024. You also have access to Gabby Brown, our fitting concierge, who is there to answer your kind of thorniest fitting issues in our online community. You get access to an exclusive 15% discount to Core Fabrics, where you can get the fabric kits that we curate every single month, which would apply to the fabric kits we've created to recreate the samples we've made this month. So that's a great value. And then you'll get a standing 15% discount at everything in the Closet Core shop. So that includes Closet Core patterns, Deer and Doe patterns, all of our sewing classes. And of course, regardless of how you join us, whether it's monthly or annually, you get access to our online community, which is my favorite place on the internet. I'm not on social media anymore personally. When I want to talk about sewing, I'm in our Crew community. It's a very active and engaged and kind and wonderful and loving place that has no algorithm. And so if you are looking for a welcoming and nurturing environment to talk about this thing that we love, that's a really huge component of Crew, in addition, obviously, to the patterns that you're going to be getting every month. So I hope you love Closet Core Emmeline. I myself am really excited to make my next version of this. I know this is going to be a beautiful blouse that you can add to your wardrobe. I just want to close by mentioning that we named this pattern after Emmeline Pankhurst, who was a radical suffragist during the Edwardian period. She did some very wild activism in this era and helped get women the vote in the UK. And we think that this is something that she would have worn. And I wish we could make a version for her and thank her for all of her work getting us the vote in the UK. Now more than ever, it seems to be important to celebrate these women in our history. So that's it for us today. Can't wait to see what you make with Emmeline, and hopefully we'll see you in Crew.